On this episode, we'll discuss building a healthy worship team on and off the stage. Well, hey there, and welcome to another episode of the Church Leadership Lab podcast, the show that is dedicated to inspiring leaders and empowering healthy churches. I'm Kendall Connor, and I'm joined by my co-host, Jess Moore. Jess, how are you today?
I'm doing pretty good. How are you, Kendall?
I'm doing really well. I'm excited to talk worship today, to talk music. This isn't something that we've talked about in a few episodes, right?
No, I love worship. And you're right. We just haven't had really many guests, if any, not to my memory anyway, not since I've been co-hosting with you. We've never talked about this.
I'm excited to jump into it. It's going to be a good one. And we've got the perfect guest that's going to be able to kind of walk us through this. And I love this topic of being able to talk about the health of the team, the worship team, the people who are making it all happen, from the vocalist to the band, all of those folks that are, bringing us that music on Sundays. And so I know that every church has some element of music, I'd say. And so I think this is going to be relevant to a lot of people.
Yep. I love it. Super excited.
Joining us for the first time here on our show is going to be Tara Banks. And if you've never connected with her before, let me tell you a little bit about her. Tara has been serving in worship for almost 32 years. She's there at Seacoast Church in Charleston, South Carolina, not too far away from me. During that time, she has built and led teams of all sizes. And she has most recently served as the executive worship pastor there. And they have 13 campuses. So it's kind of a big deal.
Oh.
She knows what she's talking about on this subject and is leading a lot of people. And so I know she's going to be able to speak into this subject really well. She's also the author of 2 different books, Waiting on Wonders and also Finding Everyday Fruit. And I'm sure she's going to want to tell us about those. But overall, she teaches on worship at a collegiate level. She also speaks at events and conferences. And so I'm really excited to jump into this today as we talk about, what it means to be a healthy worship leader on and off the stage and what that looks like for our teams. Jess, are you ready to jump into this?
Yes, that is some bio. That's amazing. 13 campuses is mind-blowing to me.
It is. It is. Before we jump into it, I do want to encourage all of our listeners to hit that follow button. And, we want to make sure that you're subscribed wherever you're enjoying our show. And I'll say this, since we are on the topic of worship, over on YouTube, where you can watch the video of today's episode, drop in the comments what your favorite worship song is. And I will say this, I will put our favorite worship song. Jess, you're going to put your worship song there, your favorite one in there?
I'm going to put mine in there.
All right. So we're going to make that happen. Be looking for ours. And we want to hear what yours is too. So without further ado, let's welcome Tara Banks to the show. How are you today, Tara?
Hey, I'm so great. Thanks so much for having me on. I'm so excited to get to chat with you guys today.
I'm excited about it too. And since we just talked about it, I don't want to give mine away because I want folks to go to those YouTube comments. But what is your favorite worship song since we're on the subject?
I mean, this is like the question of the ages, right? It's like, there's so many across all time. And for as long as I've been doing this, I have favorites in each decade. But I would say, quite honestly, one of my absolute favorites that I have loved for a lot of years is the song called So Will I. And by Hillsong, and just, talk about our expression of worship and how that reflects the Father. I love that song.
That is a really good one. Yeah, I'm going to have to pull up like my worship playlist after this, just after this conversation, because this is great. Well, I'm curious to know, we always ask all of our guests that come on the show, what's something that doesn't make that public bio that all your family and friends would know about you?
I would start by saying 2 things. One is that I'm actually very introverted. Outside of all of the things that, I do sort of publicly, I'm probably the queen of all introverts. And so, my friends and family know that about me well, but if you don't know me well, you might not think that. But as a part of that, well, thank you. I guess it's my superpower.
That gives me encouragement because it's like, like if an introvert can go and, lead worship in that way, then, it gives me hope for all those times that I get up on stage.
Kendall.
There you go. That's it.
Right. That's right. He equips those who he calls.
There you go.
For sure. As a part of that, though, for a number of years, I know you mentioned that I have written a couple of books. And for a number of years, I wrote in an online, it was basically a journal that for about 15 years I wrote. It was on this sort of unpublished blog or journal. Wasn't brave enough to share it with anybody.
Wow.
And long story short, I had shared some pieces of it with some friends, and they began to encourage me to get that out a little bit more
Yeah.
publicly. And so I began to think, well, I mean, maybe I could form some of this into a book.
Yeah.
And just about the time that I decided that I was going to jump off the extroverted cliff of putting my work out there into the world, in sort of a freak computer accident, I lost every bit of everything I had ever written.
Oh, no. Wow.
Computer crash. And I do talk about it in my first book, Waiting on Wonders, but the long and short of it is the Lord pulled off a miracle and it all came back. So, yeah. But that was my introduction to getting my words into the world
Oh,
was
wow.
the Lord
Well,
saying, "Do you trust me?"
Yeah.
And if you
what a
do,
story.
are you ready?
Yeah.
Love that so much.
Yeah, it was definitely a test of faith, a test of courage, and of
Yeah.
Did you
okay.
cry? I would have cried.
Oh, I it was. I mean, it was.
Me too. Me too.
I don't want to be overly dramatic, but it was very traumatic.
Oh my
Yeah.
Imagine, I literally just recently had a PowerPoint presentation for a webinar, and, it's 2026, everything auto-saves these days. I closed out the presentation not realizing it was that one, and I lost all of my
Yes.
work. And girl, I cried, and it was a PowerPoint presentation. It was not it wasn't my heart on paper, so
Yeah.
I can't even imagine. I'm
What
so
a
glad you
story.
got it back. I'm going to read about that miracle.
Yeah, it truly changed my perspective and
Mm.
trajectory,
Wow.
for a portion of my life, because it allowed me to trust God in a brand new way,
Yeah.
and from that, I was able to, write some books out of that, so
That's amazing.
it's really special.
That is very cool. Well, I know that you have, been involved in worship ministry for a long time.
Yes.
And I think maybe you would probably be able, because of that, be able to speak really well to this. We talk a lot about health and
Mm.
healthy churches, healthy leaders. I'm curious, when you think about being a healthy worship team, what do you think? What does that actually mean to you? What do you think it looks like to be a healthy worship team in 2026?
For me, what immediately comes to mind is has it nothing to do with the size of your team.
Mm,
A healthy team doesn't necessarily mean that you are 5 people deep in each position.
Mm.
yeah,
A healthy worship team means that there is strong leadership,
Mm.
that there is good, clear communication to everyone on the team,
Mm.
mm,
and that most of all, that you feel like a family, that there is a connection off the platform as much as there is on the platform,
that's good.
and that you're not just there to sort of, quote, "do the weekend,"
Right.
Yes.
that you are there to enter into God's presence together and to do that in community.
Mm. That's
That's really good. I think I love that you said that you are a family because I think um, a lot of people think that it either has to be small and close knit and feel like a family, or it has to be, a huge team that has so many different people, and then when it's large, that it can't have that family feel, and that it can't be successful if it's not if it's small. And so I feel like there's that tension that of just kind of the way that people think about teams. That
Mm,
but really, I feel like no matter what the size is, I feel like you need to have that health and you can have that family feel if you're intentional with it.
Mm.
absolutely. Yeah, couldn't agree more.
Well, I'm curious to hear your opinion on what would you say are some of the signs that a worship team may look healthy, but
Mm.
may not actually be healthy behind the scenes?
Mm.
Um, I think if the team is more concerned about being, flawless on
Mm,
platform versus, um, you know, entering into God's presence, or
yeah,
or if
yeah,
they're more concerned about sort of the perfection of pulling off the song or the set,
yes,
but there's no connection between the team members,
Yeah.
that to me seems like a team that might not be at its best.
Yeah.
We want to strive for excellence.
Yes.
Absolutely. The Lord is worthy of, us bringing our very best,
Right.
but not to, not to the place where we're more concerned about that sort of flawless performance rather than meeting
Yeah.
with.
Mm.
I
Now
li and I like that you said that there's a balance to that, because there you do wanna bring that excellence, but at the
For
same
sure.
time, when it becomes, about everything having to be just right,
Mm.
and, not having any room for grace in that, I feel like it does kinda change your heart posture. It can very easily change your heart posture, and I've served in the tech side, the production side for many many years in church, and I would say sometimes we even get even more hung up sometimes on it being just right. You know what I mean? Because it's so easy for everyone to see, but um, yeah, I think it is coming at it with that grace, and but while still having the heart for worship.
Right. I mean, we want to execute the weekend well.
mm,
Like I said,
Yeah,
it honors the Lord. It honors our commitment to what we've been asked to do, and we do want to do that really well. But
yeah,
even on the tech, end, we want to eliminate distractions so that people can freely meet with the Lord. That's kind of the point.
mm,
But when it comes down to it, if that is our focus
right.
yeah,
rather than experiencing God's power and presence,
Yeah.
then we've just slightly missed the mark.
That's a slippery slope. It's like where ultimately who are you attempting to glorify?
Yeah.
yeah,
That's
Is
it.
it
yeah,
your team or is it the Lord? And it
That's
is
it.
yeah,
confusing. And without that deep relational aspect and that equity with your team, if someone, because that's going to be an individual heart posture, right?
Mhm.
yeah,
But I think
yeah,
if you're operating as a healthy team and there is that connection, that emotional connection, it's a little easier to see, like, hey, bro, let's focus. We need to pray real quick before we get on stage because this
yeah,
what
Yes.
it's about you right now. And I
Yes.
think without that relational equity, those conversations don't come as easily, and it is very distracting, and then the enemy can just squeak in with the tiniest crap.
mm,
Yes.
So, yeah, I think that's a great point.
Yeah.
Well, it makes me think too, like because you do have the experience that you have, Tara, like the time that you've spent in worship ministry, what have you learned kind of matters the most that you feel like a lot of people overlook?
Mm. I would say that people need to be able to trust you off the platform as well as on the platform. And what I mean by that is, if you are given the opportunity to be in any kind of worship leadership, and that
Wow.
doesn't mean like that you have a title or whatever, it
Yeah.
means that
Yeah.
you stand on a platform, right?
Right.
If you're given the opportunity to be in any kind of worship leadership, um, you know, and then you have the opportunity to show up at a hospital
Mhm.
because someone is sick, they need to know that
Yeah.
you are not just the person that stands on the platform.
Wow.
That you are the person that is in the hallway on the weekends,
Yes.
Yeah.
speaking with them, finding out how their granny's doing, that kind of thing, that
Right.
they're trusting you on and off the platform. And
Mm,
I think that often that kind of piece of it is a little overlooked because if you are in leadership in any way, there is a whether we like it or not,
mhm.
there is a level of people look up to leadership,
Yes.
and again, has nothing to do with fact if you have a title or not.
Right.
But if
Right.
you stand on a platform, people are going to be watching you,
Mm,
and they need to know that in their darkest hour that they can trust you. And
mm,
they will do
Mm.
that more if you
Yes.
are being real with them
yeah.
in those hospital rooms, in the hallways, at the grocery store, than just sort of hiding in a green room or hiding behind a curtain until
Yes.
the worship service
Absolutely.
starts.
Absolutely.
I love that, and I feel like really that goes for any leader in any capacity, no matter what
Yes.
area you're serving in ministry. For the people that you're leading to know that you're there with them, that this is not just a spot for you to come and play music or to sing or for the spotlight to be on you in that moment, but that you're wanting to lead them, that this is not just singing songs or
Mm.
speaking a message or whatever it may be,
Yeah.
in your unique area of ministry. But yeah, you're there to you know to worship with them, to lead them into worship, and to care for them Monday through Saturday, right?
That's
And I
yeah.
think that's a very good reminder for every area of ministry, and it really changes things. It's tempting to think sometimes that that the song has to be just right. We have to have the music just right, or the service has to be, great from start to finish. But at the end of the day, did we lead people
Mm.
into God's presence? Did we really, help these people to get to that place where they're seeking God?
That's
There's just so much. There's so much here, and I love the subject. I'm curious, like it's important for every leader, but I do want to ask you for the worship team.
sure.
How can worship leaders stay connected to God when they're not on stage or when they're not holding a microphone? What's the best way that they can keep that rhythm to stay healthy and connected with God throughout the week?
I think to remember that that is just such a small part of their week.
Mm.
Um,
Wow.
Standing on a
Yeah.
platform on the weekend is, I mean, in some environments that may be 15 minutes, if that.
Right.
So that should not be the bulk of your well, it shouldn't be like your spiritual high for the week should not be
Yeah.
those 15 minutes,
Wow.
right? Like that should just be a natural overflow of what you have been pouring into all week, in your personal times with the Lord,
Yeah.
personal worship times, your personal Bible study, spending time with other believers. And then those very few minutes should just
Mhm.
be an overflow of that.
Yes.
And so, you know, I think just keeping the perspective of like, this is definitely not all that there is.
Right.
Yes.
This is a special thing,
Mm.
and we have to steward that time well, but this is not really all
Mm.
that.
Well, and as someone who does not lead worship, but attends church and loves to participate in worship,
Sure.
I know that depending on my relationship with the Lord, how how our relationship has gone that week, my level of intentionality, my level of putting time aside for the Lord is very much reflected in worship. So I
Mm.
would imagine that as holding responsibility of literally ushering people into heaven's gates to enter into worship, boy, if you're not pouring into your heart and your mind scripture throughout the week, I would feel like just like getting on that stage being like, I don't feel worthy to do this right.
Mhm.
I feel like it would require, I mean, everybody's on their own journey, and I feel like the
Yes.
Lord is so gracious, but I personally feel like that would be very difficult to stand on a stage and lead people in that way. I would imagine anyone in leadership, really, then that's the responsibility that you take on, saying, I'm going to step into this place in leadership in the church, whether you are the lead pastor or
Yeah.
worship leader or rocking babies in the nursery, like
Like,
to the glory of God. And you got to have a relationship with the Lord to be able to glorify Him.
that's right.
So, yeah.
Absolutely. And I mean, do not get me wrong. I am absolutely 100% human. So
Yeah.
there
Yeah.
have been
Yeah.
plenty of weekends over the last 30 years where I have stepped on a platform
Yeah.
empty,
Mm.
Yeah.
just said,
Mm.
"Lord, I don't have what it takes this
That's
Right.
week
right.
Right.
to
Yeah.
to lead worship.
Mm.
I need you to step in the most major way.
Yes.
Fill me up and pour me out so that
Yeah.
you can be glorified in this moment because
It's
I've got nothing."
Yeah.
So,
It's good.
please don't let me paint the picture that it's all like,
yeah.
heavenly glory all the time.
Oh, that's
It's
so
not.
good. That's so
Yeah.
much.
Well, that's a good reminder too. I think in the simplest forms, and you alluded to with the overflow. It's just hard to pour from an empty cup,
Mhm.
Absolutely.
and every week we're not going to get it right. But I think overall, when you're serving in ministry, it's like when that becomes a repeating thing. I
Yes.
think that's when the red flags start going up for me. Is like that shouldn't be the norm, right? It's like you want to make sure that you are staying refreshed and you're staying close and it is coming from that overflow. Good reminders
Yeah.
today for sure.
Yes.
It brings us back to, even having that time of worship for yourself. What does it look like? What does it look like when you're building a worship team for it to be filled with worshipers? Not just vocalists or not just musicians. What does it look like to have a team that's full of people who are passionate about worship in that way?
Um, I'm glad that you differentiated uh, between worshipers and maybe just singers or vocalists or that
Yeah.
thing. There is a lot of talent in the world, and
Mm,
there are a lot of people who just are absolutely incredible vocalists.
Mm.
But if the the key is, are they using their gift for the glory of God?
Mm.
And are they choosing to want to bring other people along with them as they do?
wow.
Is it for their own glory, or is
Yeah.
it for the glory of the Lord, like Jess said earlier? Like
Yeah.
for whose glory are we doing this?
Mhm.
And so I think a team of worshipers is one that is really clear on
Yeah.
whose glory are we after.
Right.
And
Wow.
you know, we we live in a world that it's really easy to want to, hey, look at me. Look at what I'm doing, or draw attention to me, or
Yeah.
whatever. It's just we live in this world, right?
Mm.
Yeah. So, like selfie mode, like influencer mode, selfie mode, right?
Exactly.
It's easy
It's
to
totally
point it at us.
totally easy to do. Um, but in a church environment, specifically in a worship environment, that we got to turn that selfie mode off.
Yeah.
Because
Right.
Yeah.
it can't be about us in any way.
Yeah.
That's a dangerous place to be worshiping from when
Mm.
the focus is on you instead of the king in the room.
Mm.
Yeah.
Well, and again, I just keep bringing this back. First of all, I need to say I have nothing but respect for all of the worship leaders and the vocalists and the musicians out there, because that's so not me. I'm not that guy. You do not want me up there singing, and so I have nothing but the utmost appreciation and respect for anyone who does this in their church, and so it's a big deal for me. I think about. I keep bringing it back to other areas because that's me. And serving in my own church, will speak from time to time, or you'll frequently find me on stage giving announcements and things like that. But even in those small capacities, and even in that different lens, it's very easy for you to be concerned about how I am perceived. How are people looking at me? How are people going to hear my words? What are they going to walk away
Right.
talking about me that day?
Mhm.
And it's that human nature, but I love that you brought it back to, it isn't necessarily about the performance. And again, you want to bring that standard of excellence. You want to bring your best,
Right.
but again, it is not about it just having that heart posture of, I just want to get people closer to Jesus. I just want them to have that moment with him,
Mhm.
not that moment with me. I think that's
Yeah.
the right way to approach that. You think?
Oh yeah. I like the way you said that. Let's have a moment with Jesus. Let's not have a moment with me.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because I want people at the end of the day to not walk out of the door and be like, wow, like worship was so incredible today. What I want people to walk out is to say, wow, Jesus was so incredible. Like he did
Mhm.
an
Yeah.
incredible thing in the room today. And oh, by the way, we sang some songs. Like not
Right.
that
Right.
like, oh, by the way, we sang some songs in order to usher in his presence.
Yeah.
That's
That's
convicting to me because I love music so much. And so I do have these like sometimes unrealistic expectations of
mm,
worship. And that's not fair, right? Because it shouldn't, those are humans up there. And we have an incredible worship team at our church. So but I have my favorite singers.
sure.
Anyway,
We all do.
I feel
We
like
all
that was a good reminder though. Like when my favorite singer's not on stage, I need to remember that this is between me and the Lord. So
Yes.
that's convicting for me as a consumer of worship.
Yes. Yes,
So,
yes. It's not about our preferences. It's about
Mm.
his presence.
yes, yeah,
And yes.
so good.
Yes and amen.
This is all hitting home, very close to home for me, just because I have And just to tell you, I've talked about it many times on the podcast before, but my wife and I, we have 3 young boys, and we're, very involved in our ministry at our church. And so like they even at a young age have started to pick up on their preferences of what's gonna, what teacher are they gonna have in class that day, or what songs we're gonna sing, or what lesson, or things are gonna be happening that day. And it's just funny because wife and I, we are doing our best to have these conversations with them and guide them through these different things. And it's just, it is, and to your point, Jess, it is about coming in and having, when you're in that worship service, it's not about, are they singing my favorite song that day? It's about, just having that moment with God, and even being a part of that collective experience of us all coming together, worshiping together, and having that moment. There's something special to it that
So special.
you can't get on Spotify in the same way on a Tuesday, on a Wednesday, right?
That's right. And just one little sidebar on that, just to encourage you, like, nobody can worship God for you.
Mm,
You are the only one that can worship God in the specific way that you do. So, like, I
I
can't
love that.
worship God for you in the way that you do. And so that kind of, to me, helps, remove the sort of the preference thing.
Yeah.
Well, it's like, oh, well, okay, today, I need to bring my worship in the seats because I'm the only one that can worship God in this way, regardless of the song, regardless of the singer, because this is my heart expressing my love to my King. And I'm the only one that can do that. So
That's
so good.
yeah,
That is
just
so
encourage
good.
you.
Yeah. Even when I don't know the song.
That's right. That's right. That's why
Let's be real, y'all. We all have those songs that we're going to put on our own playlist, right?
Yes.
There's a balance to this thing, I think. I'm curious, Tara, what rhythms would you recommend to any of those worship leaders, any of those folks that are serving in this way at home? What rhythms have you say that can keep them spiritually healthy, that you've learned over the time that you've been serving?
Man, I'll tell you one, and I'll just be very honest, one that I did not take as seriously as I should have early in my ministry life,
Yeah.
that in the last several decades has very has become, critical to me, and that is the principle of the Sabbath. I grew up in a beautiful, small Methodist church, which is very different than Seacoast Church, and I learned to love the Lord in that church, but we didn't spend a lot of, quite honestly, didn't spend a lot of time talking about the Sabbath, in my opinion, the way that I believe that Jesus wanted us to Sabbath. Sabbath was more sort of restrictive, and as a child, it was sort of like, we don't do things on Sunday. We go to church, and then we're just sort of quiet, right? But as I've gotten older, I have come to realize that the Sabbath is not something that God wants from us. It's something He wants for us. And that
So good.
kind of Sabbath rhythm, where you pause every 7 days, and there's loads of teaching on this. I love, Ruth Haley Barton's teaching on this. I love John Comer's teaching on this. But bottom line is, you take time to worship and to rest and to enjoy the things that truly delight your heart and that connect you with the Lord, that refuel you, so that you are working, from your rest, not crashing into Sabbath, right? You're not working for rest, you're working from it. And that rhythm has revolutionized my spiritual life, my family life, and I believe my ministry life, particularly in these later years, as I have learned to take that more seriously, and have come to realize that Sabbath is not necessarily a suggestion. It is a commandment, and even though it is not directly spelled out in the New Testament, I believe if it was good enough for Jesus, it's good enough for me. And so those are just some of the things that I'm learning about it. But I feel very strongly about it. And for young leaders, they're, if ever asked, what's one thing you would say, about ministry and that kind of thing, I'm just like, get serious about your Sabbath.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good.
And make sure that you are taking that time so that you, like you said, Kendall, have a cup that is full
Mhm.
and
Yes.
can actually work out of a full cup.
So good.
So much good wisdom in that. And I feel like, especially for the younger leaders, that's probably not the thing that's at the top of their list, right?
Yeah.
Like they're thinking, I've got to, chase after this. I've got to, spend extra time on this and all those different things. But yeah, that biblical principle of Sabbath is so, so important.
It's
That's
hard
good.
in our society, y'all. It is
Yes.
hard. It is countercultural, and
Yes, it is.
it is. We've tried. We've been trying real hard to implement it in our home, and it
Yeah.
does make a massive difference.
Yes. And, I would just give this encouragement to anyone that is, listening and saying like, oh, well, that's something that I might want to learn more about or
Sure.
begin in my own. Just start wherever you are.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Mm,
Don't put the pressure on yourself in the beginning. Like it has to be on a certain day, 24 hours,
yeah.
this, like, I understand. I'm a mother, had small babies, so it's like you just start right where you are.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
if it is just a couple of hours, one day a week, that's great. And then, you know, be intentional about it, look
Right.
ahead, begin to schedule it into your life so that that truly can become, a full day of rest
That's
as
good.
intended. But
Yeah.
yeah, just start where you are.
Good practical advice.
Yes, very encouraging. I'm curious to hear from you. I know that a lot of times when you're working with a team,
Mhm.
um, culture is a big deal. Because
Mhm.
having that right culture, having a healthy culture when it comes to how you work together, how you serve together, how you approach being on stage together, leading people, all of these different things, it kind of comes back. It rises and falls on that culture.
Mhm.
What are some of the issues that you see with that, and what's the best way to have that healthy culture in a team?
Mm. Um, I think a healthy culture starts with clear communication as to the why we're
Yeah.
doing
Mm,
something,
yeah.
not being so focused on the how we do it or even what we're doing.
Mm.
Just getting back to the heart of the why are we doing this?
Yeah.
Yes.
And continuing to keep that in front of the team.
Mm.
It's got to be one of these things. If all they hear from you is we're going to do, this set list and these songs and we're going to do it in
Right.
the key of D and all the things.
Yeah.
They never know
Yeah.
why we're singing these songs and that our purpose is actually to connect people with God's power and presence. Well,
Mm.
then it's just going to be, and I don't mean this as harsh as it might sound, but it will just be sort of like a bunch of robots just doing the thing,
Yeah.
Right.
Right.
right? Rather than actual people
Mm.
connecting with God and helping others connect with Him too. So
Mhm, mhm.
I think just communicating the why.
Yeah.
You said robot, and it immediately brought me to I've got an in-ear in one of my in-ear, and it just made me think about the click track that goes and the
Oh, yeah.
little automated directions that you get when you've got your multi-tracks going, and I'm just thinking like, yeah, it can't feel robotic in that way. It's gotta feel like it has heart, right? Like you're working with people and, being able to work with one another and communicate with one another and come back to the heart of this
Mhm.
thing
Mm.
is so important.
You need that
Very
little flag that Kendall has hanging behind him in every,
That's right. That's right. I know when we first met, I commented on that. I was just like, "I love that."
and we're gonna keep everyone that's listening to this, the audio version, in suspense to go over on YouTube
Yeah.
and check
That's
out
right.
exactly what it says.
You wanna
That's
know
right.
what we're talking about. If you let me know.
That's
That's
right.
the secret.
Well, I wanna know, I wanna ask you, working with the team, we know that clarity plays a big part in that when it comes to roles, when it comes to expectations, really any communication. How would you say clarity plays into this? How important is that for a worship team?
It's everything. It's absolutely everything. Little phrase that I like to say is, clear is kind.
Yeah.
And
Mm,
any time that we can, express clarity
Mm.
to
yeah.
our teams, that's just the kind thing to do, right?
Right.
Yes.
And even if it means we are saying it more than we want to, even if it means that we're placing that vision in front of them one more time, even if it means, that we are needing to have an extra conversation over coffee, that's
Yeah.
okay because that is
Yeah.
actually the kind thing to do. And of course, fruit of the spirit, kindness, like we're
Yes.
called to be kind.
Right.
Um, and so, yeah, I think clarity is really just everything.
Mm.
There's a lot to be there's a lot to be said about being willing to be clear.
Yes.
Right.
And because you can explain something and have a lot of information about it and choose to not be all that clear about the information that you
Yes.
know,
True.
whole 'nother thing to have the information and to make sure that everybody feels well informed.
Mm. Yeah.
That's really good. Clarity is kindness. That is
Mhm.
good. What a great reminder about just, communicating the things that need to be said and taking that extra time. It is worth that extra
Yes.
intentionality, especially when you're working with people because, if they're not clear on where to go and what to do
Mhm.
and what's expected of them, it just gets murky so
Mm.
very quickly.
Yeah.
When it comes to the pastor or the senior pastor, the lead pastor, or any of those leaders that you're working with, even the teaching pastor on a Sunday morning, how would you say that those leaders who are outside of worship
Mhm.
can support those that are singing on Sundays, that are leading people into worship through that way?
That's a great question, and again, I think it all goes back to really clear communication.
Mm.
Um,
Yeah.
I will just, not because I have to, but because I want to, I'm just gonna shout out my leaders
Mm.
and to say I feel like that down through the years, I have just had an incredible relationship with the
Mhm.
leadership at my church because there has been loads of clear communication. I have felt
Yeah.
so well supported in my role,
Mm.
no matter what role I have held down through the years, and it has been because there have been open lines of communication, and not just open lines of communication, but open lines of regular communication
Yes.
where
Yes.
we had standing meetings on the calendar every week,
Yeah.
and so
Yeah.
I can't stress enough the senior pastor slash lead pastor communicator, that relationship with your worship leader
Yeah.
is so key because if you think about it on the weekend, there are many, many, many elements to a weekend, and
Yes.
as church leaders, we know this, right? From parking lot to platform,
That's right.
kids, men, youth ministry, tech, production, worship, all the things. But two things kind of are very maybe most visible:
Mhm.
the word,
Yes.
the spoken word, and worship.
Right.
And
Right.
those two things are not in alignment. And if there is not clear communication
Right.
and you know, a sense of leadership respect between the two,
Yes. Yes.
that can just derail things really, really, really quickly.
Yeah.
So I just, I honor my leaders, and I'm so grateful to the leaders at my church who have not only clearly communicated with me down through the years, but have shown, just a huge amount of mutual respect, and I can't say enough about it.
That's awesome.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
I love that you said mutual respect. I think that's so needed, and I think that goes with any of ministries that are working side by side, going the same direction, right?
Right.
Because even I think back to that production or that tech team and the worship team, and
Absolutely.
for some ministries they even put them together because that's another area, right, where you have to have that mutual respect and be going in the same direction. But I think it speaks to so many different places, and I just think it's a great reminder for any of those pastors or senior leaders that are out there, or bringing that message. I feel like even as someone, when I experience a service, can tell the difference between when the speaker that day and the worship team are in sync. They're going the same direction. They are communicating the same thing. It
Right.
makes such a big difference.
It really does.
Mm.
Yeah, and I think as a worship leader, a worship pastor, it's also our job to remember that our covering comes from our spiritual covering comes from
Yeah.
our leadership,
Yeah.
Wow.
not in a weird authoritative sort of way, but in a beautiful
Yeah.
spiritual sort of way.
Yeah.
And as a worship leader and worship pastor, you always want to remain, under the covering of your leader.
So good.
And the way that all that happens is by lots of clear communication and working
Yes.
together.
Yes.
Yeah.
What a great reminder. I know that every ministry leader will know this to be true. Sundays keep coming. They just every
Yes.
7 days you've got another service that you're preparing
Yes.
for. And I just want to hear from you, your perspective on how do you keep from going on autopilot, from just, putting the same things in the schedule, just saying, oh, we'll figure it out. How do you go from it just being turning to something mundane into something that's continually intentional?
Yeah. I think for me, it's twofold. One is to realize, okay, we get to do this 52 times this year.
Wow.
Right? Like
Yeah,
it's not a have to, it's a get to.
that's
And
right.
again, I don't mean that in a weird kind of way, but it's like we get to do this 52
Yeah,
times this year. And so just coming at it from that perspective. And the other thing is that we have to treat it like um so the weekends are transactional. And what I mean by that is that we are entering into relationship on the weekends. We're
yeah,
entering into the relationship with the Father, and we're also entering into relationship with one another as we gather.
Yeah.
And so in just like in any other relationship,
that's right.
you you know, you have to keep those things fresh.
Yeah.
If,
Yes,
if I was going to meet with you 52 times this year, we would not have the same conversations. We would
right,
not,
right.
you know, it it would not be rote. It would be different every time. We
Yes,
might have similar themes that we might talk about or things that we want to address, but we would not be bored with the
yes,
conversation. We would not be, saying the exact same thing every
right,
time, right? So it's relationship. And so going into it with that kind of mindset that, hey, I'm walking into a weekend experience and I'm engaging in relationships
Mm.
versus this is just something, wrote in
right. On the
r-
calendar.
yeah,
Yeah.
that I have to do. And just kind of keeping that in mind.
What a sense of urgency to me that just gives me a reminder of
Yeah.
that because, and I even think like we get to do this there's 52 Sundays, but how many of those people who are in the seats are there for all 52? You may have one chance that month,
Right.
one chance or, one or two times in that whole month that you get to be in that service together with them and lead them in this way. And,
Yeah.
it does crank up that urgency a little bit because you don't want to waste this moment that you
Mm-mm.
have together. And
Yeah.
so what a good reminder.
Yeah. And I actually, just to speak on that for a second, it's so true, you know, in the worship team, that type of thing, we get tired of singing songs.
Right,
Um,
right.
because between rehearsal and,
Right.
maybe doing multiple services and that kind of thing,
Yes,
we get tired of
right.
singing songs a lot faster than the congregation does
100%.
sometimes because, to your point, not everyone comes every weekend.
That's
Yeah.
right.
And so, we also have to keep that in mind too.
That's a great point that I've never thought of until this moment.
Yeah, it's, you
I'd be
just it's just the nature of it, it's just the nature of how it goes.
Yeah.
Well, it makes me appreciate. I think maybe that's what I'm carrying out of this conversation the most, Tara, is just it's a fresh appreciation for me for what we get to do when we have those people walk through those doors on a Sunday morning and getting
Yeah.
to lead them.
Yeah.
I love that. I think that's going to be really refreshing for anyone who listens to this to hear and take away from this. So thank you
Oh,
for
I hope
that.
so.
We've kind of alluded to this a little bit, but something that we ask all of our guests that come on the show, one of the big themes for our podcast is healthy churches and leaders. And I'm just kind of curious, in your opinion, what would you say is one essential component of a healthy church?
That's great. I would say, I have to go back to culture,
Mm.
creating a healthy culture.
Yeah,
And along those lines, I would say be a part of creating a culture that that keeps you. And what I mean by that is be active in creating culture in your church that creates something that you want to be a part of in 30 years.
Wow.
And when I, started at Seacoast, I was 17, turning 18 years old, fresh out of high school, just started college. And clearly, I had absolutely no idea God's plan for, my future. It was never it really wasn't a desire of mine to be in full-time ministry at that point. I just wanted to sing on the team kind of thing, and help out. And down through the years, obviously, the Lord saw it fit to put me in places of leadership, which I'm just so grateful for. But that said, I began to have the opportunity to sit at tables where I was given the opportunity to help shape the culture of the future.
Right.
And, we started having these conversations, not like, oh, what do we want this church to be like in the next 2 years, but what do we want this church to be like for our grandkids?
Right.
It's like, be a part of an organization that wants to think long term, and not only just think long term, that you get excited about being there long term. And so, staying sort of that staying power, if you will. And to steal the title of the book, there's that faithfulness in long faithfulness in one direction, or long faithfulness in the same direction, I think it's called. But just be willing to just stay faithful, and then get as deep as you can into the culture of your church and create something that's going to last.
That's so good. God,
it is. And Tara, I'm fired up hearing this. This is this is awesome. What were you going to say, Jess?
I was going to say, I think too, just culturally speaking, outside of the church, I live in Tulsa. I mean, it's a church buffet. Okay. We've got churches on every corner. And so the idea of like, not that new shiny object, what can you build within your culture that creates people to want to commit, stay? Like, that's a completely different conversation. And I think it's tempting to say, how can we get them in? Like, what is that new trendy thing we can do to attract them to our church? But that's not your responsibility. In some capacity it is, but creating
bringing it back to that heart.
To invested long term, it's harder, but boy, does that pay so much more in dividends. On the end of that, knowing that they'll foster relationship and community that is generational. I think that's just a great thought.
It's amazing.
That's right. Yeah. And just to say, faithfulness is not old fashioned. It's a fruit of the Spirit.
That's right.
So, to want to be a part of something and to stay faithful to something is, I believe, something that God desires for us.
Yes.
And now that does not mean, that you can't do something new and, whatever.
That's right.
But I do believe that faithfulness is something that God calls us to.
Yep. That's great.
Good reminders. Well, kind of the way that we love to wrap up these conversations is with the final 5 rapid fire round. Would you be up for the challenge, Tara?
Sure. I'll do my best.
I'm going to lead us through these. So what is one book on this subject or similar that you'd recommend to church leaders?
Okay. So a book that I love, on worship leadership, that type of thing, is a book called How to Worship a King by Zach Neese. Can't speak highly enough about it. Have taken teams through it for years, and just really believe it's a fantastic book on biblical leadership and how worship unfolds.
I love that. Okay. What is the last thing you listened to on Spotify or Apple Music or wherever?
I can't wait to hear this one.
Yeah.
Okay. Just this morning, I listened to a new song by Jacob Collier that kind of blew my mind. And he's just a musical genius, and I have so much respect for him. So, yes, that was the last thing I listened to.
Okay. All right. Favorite piece of technology or software right now?
Okay. This one I just found this week. It may not be new, but it's new to me.
Yeah.
So as a vocalist, as a musician. I'm, constantly listening to, songs on YouTube or whatever, singing
Yeah.
along. And I discovered a new extension on Chrome where you can transpose in real
Ooh,
time the
wow.
actual, like the video that's playing. So let's say I want to sing along with a worship video and it's in the key of D. Well, I can transpose it on the fly and, oh, that's a little too high. I'm going to want to sing it in C. I can
Wow.
click a button and it will transpose.
It's amazing. You don't know the name of that, do you?
I can get it for you. I
Maybe,
can.
yeah, maybe if you send it to me, I can drop it in the show notes because
Okay.
I feel
Yes.
like someone's going to hear that and they're going to say, I need that in my
What a
life.
time to
And-
be alive, guys. This is
Yeah,
wild.
I know. It may not be new, but it's definitely new to me. So
Sounds new.
Definitely
Sounds
new to
like
me
magic.
too.
That's awesome. Okay, quote or advice that has stuck with you over the years.
begin as you mean to go.
Mm,
So like begin with the end in mind. 'Cause,
Yes.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's
That's good.
good wisdom.
Hey, okay, last one. What's one thing that you'd like to communicate to our audience of church leaders?
that God's presence is available to us
Mm,
all the time, not just on a weekend, not just while you're reading your Bible or praying or standing on a platform. But God's presence is available to you in your kitchen, in your car,
Yeah.
on a walk, in your baby's room while you're rocking them. I mean, like,
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
just that God's presence is available to us, and all we have to do is raise our awareness to it,
Yes.
and we will find Him. He is faithful.
That's so good.
What a great message for these leaders today. That's so encouraging. And I know that people are going to want to hear more from you. Where is the best place to follow you? Where can they get more? I know that you have the worship department. I'm sure you want to talk about a little bit. Tell us a little bit about the things that you have going on in this season.
Yeah, so great. So the worship department, and that's theworshipdepartment.com. You can get to it either way, but DEPT, the abbreviation.
Right.
Okay.
I love that.
Theworshipdepartment.com. So a good friend of mine, Nate Davis, and I, we offer worship consulting for churches, and on a wide variety of levels, from group coaching situations to going very, very deep into the weeds with
Wow.
worship teams and their leaders in order to help them go further faster. And we
So
love
good.
to do it. Nate and I have been friends and serving together for over 20 years.
Wow.
And
Yeah.
so between us, we've got 50 years of worship leading experience, and it is like the joy of our life to be able to share that experience with other worship teams and their leaders. So you can catch us at theworshipdepartment.com and learn more about all the things that we offer there.
That is so cool. I'm going to link all of these things up in our show notes to make it easy for everybody. And we'll list your books there as well,
Yes.
and all of the resources that you have, because I think you have a great blog too, right? I was checking out some of those resources. So
Yeah.
I really appreciate all the encouragement, not only that you've shared with us, but also I know that you're doing this with churches all over and been so faithful there at your ministry there in South Carolina. And so thank you for all that you've done today and for all the ministry that you continue to do.
Oh, well, thank you. I have loved our chat today. Thank you so much for letting me be on, and I hope this is helpful.
I know for sure I'm going to put on a worship playlist after this.
Yeah. Sarah, you're just exuding joy. You
Yes.
do so beautifully. It's an
Thank
honor to
you.
meet you. Truly, I'm so
Oh.
glad you got to come on.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you so much for being on here with us.
Thank
For
you.
all of our guests who are listening, all of our folks that are listening at home, if this has encouraged you the way that it has me, would you consider sharing this with someone? Share it with that worship leader in your church. Share it with that worship team that you have that are singing with you, that are playing with you, that are doing all of these different things. I would say if you have someone that you know, a friend that's serving at a church down the street, share this with them because I know it's going to encourage them. So I really appreciate you spreading the word about this podcast. It helps us to keep equipping leaders like you. It makes a big difference. Hit that follow button. We want to make sure. And again, over on YouTube, leave us a comment. I want to know what that favorite worship song is for you in this season. Leave it for us because we're going to be reading those. Until next time, keep leading well. And we'll see you right back here next week on Church Leadership Lab.
This episode of the Church Leadership Lab podcast is brought to you by Ministry Brands, the largest provider of church technology software. Over 90,000 churches rely on Ministry Brands, for their single platform solution that brings together all the digital tools a church needs. From online giving to websites to church management software and more, Ministry Brands is leading the way in simple-to-use, innovative solutions, all with the goal of empowering healthy churches. To learn more, visit ministrybrands.com.